Hey, what's up, everyone? Welcome back to another episode of the Nerdy Volume Podcast. And today we're going to be talking about Guardians of Galaxy 3. So don't go anywhere and turn it to 11. All right, y'all. So we got the third installment of the Guardians of the Galaxy 3, and it's very how do I explain it? It's a very great movie. I mean, it's we got director and writer James Gunn back at it again. You know, just dishing out all these like hot cake like films. It's just a great film in general. We have the main characters come back like Chris Pratt, Bradley Cooper. We got Dave Bautista, Karen Gillan, Vin Diesel, Palm Clementif. I don't know if I said that name right. And then as well as Zoe Saldana, you know, the main, I can't say true, but the main group, you know, coming back, as well as we got new characters. The High Evolutionary and Adam Warlock. High Evolutionary is played by Chukwudi Iwuji, and Will Poulter was playing Adam Warlock. It was an intense movie, and it was a very sad and very, I guess, it felt very family oriented, of course, because, well, that's what they've all strived and wanted, you know, throughout the three movies. So, you know, but let's get into it.
Nice.
Yeah, man. As long as Vin Diesel in there, it's always about family.
You know?
It's always about family.
I was thinking the same thing.
Do you guys hear?
I have a question for James Gunn. Not that he's going to answer me because, you know, he doesn't know who I am. But
yes.
Why can't you make DC movies as good as you made these Marvel movies?
Well, you see, it's
that's my question.
I'm just getting started.
I think it might be because of he didn't. So he started with Guardians of Galaxy, like that was his baby.
Yeah,
and you know, like kind of like how Taika Waititi took Thor at the third you know, installment. With the DC one, James Gunn actually received them as they are. I believe Suicide Squad was his first one that he did, right? Was it the second? He didn't do the first one.
Suicide Squad 2.
Yeah, he did the second one, and that one was a good one. But the thing is that he had a different kind of template to work with, I think.
I guess so. You're right.
You know, right. I mean, I think that's the reason why. But I totally get what you mean, and I would ask the same question. You know,
another question is, can you make DC as good, if not better, please? I think DC deserves a little you know, because the Dark Knight is probably the best thing that's come out of there in a long while.
I saw somewhere.
No, Man of Steel was actually pretty damn good.
Yeah,
Man of Steel was really good. I take back what I said. But other than that,
somewhere that Bradley Cooper is going to be playing the older Batman in these in Gunn's DC universe. And you know who else
Batman
Bradley Cooper played? Guardians of the Galaxy. Come on.
Yeah. Right.
I thought,
Rocket.
I thought you were talking about something else.
I always forget that he's the voice of Rocket, because I don't hear his voice when Rocket speaks.
I don't see his face. I don't see his face when he speaks, because totally sounds like a different character. He sounds like he's from New York. Rocket sounds like he's from New York, and or the East Coast, maybe Boston. He's Rocket, yeah. You know, you're not the only genius around here. You know what I mean? He's walking here. That's what you kind of hear.
He's walking here.
When you hear Rockets.
I'm not going to embarrass myself again. I'm not going to try.
Oh man, if you clip that, what was the movie, or it was a series, right, on Netflix? And
I can't even remember.
Bob, you did Kaleidoscope.
Yeah. Australian accent.
Yeah, that was really bad.
Yeah.
Clip it in here.
I was low key embarrassed a little bit.
Is he Australian? Is he Australian or was he South African? Something like it. He's like, oh, well, I've got to have that. Oh, dang, I'm so sorry. I butchered that. Whatever that was. Ignore that part. I'm just going to edit that part out. Yeah, no, it was horrible. That was horrible. But...
Oh, no, I'm just kidding.
I was high-key embarrassed.
No.
And we,
yeah. So Bradley Cooper once again, like I didn't even know that he was playing Rocket. And in the first film I found out. That's when I found out. But like Bradley Cooper, I was like, that's the dude from like Hangover, right? You know, that was the first thing that popped up in my head. I was like,
you know who else I forgot was playing Groot was Vin Diesel, because Groot started talking at the end of the movie. I love you guys. Really?
Yeah, I didn't see that coming. And I didn't want that to happen. I figured it might have, but
so about that, I have a question, because did he say I love you guys, or did he say I am Groot, but they just made it sound in English so that we understood what he was saying? Because if you think about it, right? Gamora entire time could not understand a word that Groot was saying. That whole bit with Gamora and Groot was one of the best parts of the whole film. I was dying every time Gamora was like, "You're just making this up, right? You don't know what he's really saying, right?"
Yeah,
but
like, yes, at the end of
it, right? But at the end of it, she understood what he said. Right. So it was like she accepted him and he accepted her. And so it was like some kind of link that allowed her to understand him. So I'm wondering if that's what it was for us. Like he still said, I am Groot, but because we are part of that family, we now understood what he was saying. That's my guess.
That's a good
one, actually.
How would you say, insight? Like I've never even thought of that, you know, like because it was weird that Gamora didn't understand him, because I'm pretty sure Gamora is also a very intelligent being she was the daughter of Thanos. So she could probably speak thousands of languages, right? So I'm like, why wouldn't?
Well, you know what it is though, because
old Gamora could.
So according to from the comics, if I remember well, and anybody who knows more than I can definitely write that in the comments. If I remember well, the species that Groot is, which I guess I don't know if they're called Groots, but whatever his species is, had some kind of like disease that attacked them, and they became violent and they became unintelligent to the point where they could only speak a little bit of words. That's why Groot could only say I am Groot, right? Because that was the virus or whatever it was affected him in that manner. But I think what it is to us it just sounds the same, but the mannerism in which he says it, because they're so close to him, they are able to understand what he's trying to say in like a higher mental level, right? It's not so much understanding the language, but more about understanding the feeling that he's trying to portray when he says I am Groot. But I'm definitely with Gamora. I was like, most of the time I think they're just messing with everybody and they just making up whatever they want him to say.
Yeah, especially Nebula's explanation of what he said. He goes, I am Groot. And then Nebula's like, so you think that the person's headpiece right there is a part of the information that we need to help Rocket? And then that's where Gamora's like, you're just making this up, right?
Yeah, that's what Gamora's like, you're just making this up. Like, he can say one thing and it could be like a whole essay from just saying I am Groot.
he just told like a 500-page paper with just I am Groot. But yeah, that was probably one of my favorite like bits throughout the entire film, with Gamora just going like, what? And then he says, I am Groot. We know you're Groot. I know your name. I'm dying. Oh shoot. That was too funny. Oh man.
So that's why I thought it was weird that Gamora didn't know how to speak, his language, where the old Gamora did. You know, the original, I guess, in this case. But apparently Groot was a Flora Colossus. That was his species.
Oh, that's the species. Okay. Yeah. I'm pretty sure in the comics, because I remember reading that, because I was like, do they only say that? I was looking it up, and somebody was talking about how that's what happened to their species. They like were infected by some kind of fungus or a virus or bacteria or something that caused them to become like unintelligent, right? And violent on top of it. Like they became like psychopathic about killing everything and everyone. So
yeah, and apparently Groot is also described as a selva tree, which is the national tree of Puerto Rico.
Wow.
Interesting stuff.
They should just now have, instead of having like the actual tree whenever you look it up, they should just have a picture of Groot just
just chilling.
It's our national tree.
All right.
I am Groot.
Yeah, exactly. Yo soy Groot.
Oh man, Puerto
shoot.
Rican group.
All right, so let's talk about the High Evolutionary and Adam Warlock, the two new characters to the film, and and they were definitely a incredible part of the new chapter, of the show. I don't know if Guardians of the Galaxy will continue as James Gunn films. Like, I don't know if they're going to have a completely new director,
like a volume 4.
like a volume 4. Yeah, because I mean, I was just like, even though people are leaving the show because of contract things or because of whatever the movie or the plot asks for, the group itself doesn't mean it's finished, because Adam Warlock, I remember, is a Guardian of the Galaxy,
right?
Right.
And but the High Evolutionary, I have never heard of him outside of the movies, because I don't really read a lot of the Marvel comics. So getting to see a new character like the High Evolutionary was really cool, and I was trying to understand how he became into power. So I thought that Chuck played a great character, a very cruel character. There was if it wasn't for my brother, I wouldn't have understood why he went crazy out of nowhere. To me, he started going crazy out of nowhere. It didn't make any sense. And it was because Rocket found a deficit in the build that he made.
Right.
And because of that, he got drunk in jealousy and decided to just wail on Rocket.
He just went insane, basically.
Yeah, he went insane. Which
mishap.
I was like, because prior to, remember, he had his face. And and so because of the way he was, it was weird. It was like he was trying to create his own society. The High Evolutionary was trying to create the perfect place.
Right.
Yes.
I thought. Go ahead, Randolph.
Oh no, yeah. Basically, he's just a mad scientist. He's trying to make the perfect human, I guess, or human being, or being, like a species. But he just went crazy, like what is said, that every time that he made something wrong, like, why is this? Why are they violent? And then Rocket comes up and says his stuff about it, and that's what kind of drew him even more madder. Matter, I guess I should say. But yeah, in case that's basically who he is, and I think Chuck portrayed him pretty well, actually.
Yeah, and I think Chuck did a great job. I was just like, dang, this guy, you'd love to hate him.
Right.
No, I think. Oh my gosh, my bad, guys. Oh, my nose.
Allergies
are just crazy. If you see any boogers, people, I'm gonna blur it out later. Okay, don't worry about it. But
it's a mosaic.
I'll try catching
it. But I see it a different way. Because I definitely think that he was mad the entire time. Obviously, he had such an obsession with the need for perfection, right? That he wanted to create this perfect society, and nothing was working. And I think what really caused him to go over the edge, jealousy. I would agree, it's jealousy.
Jealousy,
right? Because a lower being, a being that he created, was able to understand and fix a problem that to something that he created, right? The machine that he created, he couldn't figure out why all these creatures were becoming violent, but yet this lower being who he finds to be detestable, right? Which is Rocket, for those of you who don't know. Oh, by the way, spoiler alert.
A little bit early, but late, but
Rocket's a rocket scientist.
Right. But then Rocket understands it and tells him, oh, this is how you fix that problem, right? And so it does fix it, right? They become pacifist creatures, right? They're not violent anymore. And I think, definitely jealousy, because he's like, how can this creature that is lower than I am in intelligence and his belief understand, fix this problem that I couldn't even fix myself? But on top of that, I think he had also a deeper hatred for Rocket, not only out of jealousy, but because he knew he needed Rocket to fix more of the problem. Because as we saw when they landed on what is it? What Anti-Earth?
Counter-Earth.
Or Counter-Earth?
Yeah, Counter-Earth.
When they landed on Counter-Earth, that it doesn't matter if you made them pacifists or like more docile, nature takes its course, and where there is struggle, where there is strife, where there is problems, people will adapt, right, and become violent if they need to. And we saw that, right? There were people who were beating up other people. The freaking octopus thing that was selling drugs to the
cockroaches.
Yeah, to the cockroaches. Like it wasn't the perfect society that the high evolutionary wanted, right? So he hated. I think it was that he hated the fact that he knew he needed Rocket in order to unlock the next level of perfection, right? Because he hadn't reached it yet, and he hated that he wasn't able to figure it out himself. So yeah, definitely jealousy that Rocket was able to figure it out, but more the sensation that such a lower being was needed in order to solve a problem that he believed himself to be a god, right? Couldn't figure out.
Yep. And, and then Rocket said something at the end. He was like, you didn't care about perfection. You just hated people for who they really are. Right. And I'm all like, that I mean, that makes sense. Yeah. Of course. That's why you wanted to. I was just like, yeah, Rocket. Yeah, he didn't like people the way they are. That's why he wanted it perfect. But I got it early on that what he meant was that he didn't like the fact that imperfect beings were fine as the way they are. Right. He didn't like that. Right. That's what I believe. That's what that phrase was. But when he first said it, I'm like, if someone else were to hear it, maybe I'm overthinking it. But I get where he was trying to go with that.
Kind of like seeing the imperfections in a perfect person.
Yeah.
Because there is no perfect person in reality.
Right.
Everybody is imperfect.
100%.
And I think that's where, I think that's what drives the higher evolutionary a little bit mad every single time. Notice that how quick he was to blow up Counter Earth and how slow he took to create those species. It's just, and it kind of sucks. Yeah, it just kind of sucks that he creates beings and then destroys them a little bit later on because why? They're not perfect because, everything's got to be perfect for their perfectionist, which is the high evolutionary, basically.
Right.
Leo, you brought up the octopus that gave out drugs. Yeah. So it was so funny because I thought he was giving them like weed, right? Because the octopus, the way that he was dressed, looked like a Rasta. And I'm like, so when Chris Pratt said the octopus giving it to 3 roach heads, meth. I'm like, meth? I thought it was just weed. I was like, what? And I'm like,
weed, oh my God, that's playing.
And it's too funny that he said to the roach heads because roach is another term, for like a smaller, joint or whatever.
Yeah.
I just thought it was just
wow.
I was just like, so meth to roach. That was wild. Dang. That was a wild phrase. So when you brought that up, I was like, yes, I wasn't the only one that paid attention to that part because that was so random. I was like, you had to have seen it when you were driving through the city, and not only that too, I was distraught to find out that Counter Earth was being destroyed because of the Bat family. Remember that Bat family that saved them? That took them in.
Oh yeah.
Listen to them.
Oh yeah, they didn't live.
I was all like, they did not deserve. There was 2 kids in the house too, in the room playing. Mm-hmm. They were playing, like a brother and a sister that was playing, and then the mom, and then the husband came later, and all of their I guess their reactions towards things were very human like. Like when they took the car, the dad's like.
Oh no, not my car.
That
whole scene, by the way, was also great with Nebula trying to unlock the door. He's like, push the button. I am. It's like, no, it looks like you're pushing the keyhole. Push underneath the handle. There's a button. What do I do now? Pull on the door. What a stupid mechanism.
The instructions weren't clear.
Yeah, your instructions weren't clear. I'm like, that's exactly how my door opens. I have to push the button.
Dude, yeah.
I loved Nebula in this season, in this volume. She was so good.
Mm-hmm.
I have to agree with that.
Yep.
She was a little bit more alive,
human?
I guess.
Yeah. She was more human.
Yeah.
Like she had emotions. Like, because I mean, obviously the first one, all she had was hatred for Gamora, right?
Yeah.
And then the second one, it was like distrust. So now we're at a point where she sees them as family as well. I mean, she was really the one that was like pushing that we need to say Peter was also doing it, but she was like, we need to save Rocket. We need to save Rocket. You know, and like she was adamant about it. So I was like, oh, that's
she
cool.
became
that's
a savior. Yeah, she became like a savior-like character.
Yeah.
And she definitely grew so much as a character. And you see that at the end where the children are now on nowhere. And she's like, I will teach the children. I was like, oh man, that's so cheating. Like free education from Nebula. You know, can you imagine? You know?
But she can't do it without Drax though, because Drax speaks her language.
Oh yeah, that's true.
That scene was also great. That scene was also great. Like, why did you tell us you speak the language? Why didn't you ask? Just like, you know what? It's true.
Yeah. And Nebula did also have issues with both Drax and Mantis because she thought them to be the most useless of the crew. Because you know, Mantis was someone that was in tune with feelings, and Drax was just a blubberball klutz that had strength. And so it was really funny to see them being used, or their characters being used as their archetypes, which was always the case for Drax. Drax was always a dad. That was his whole reason for wanting to get Thanos, was because of his family.
Right. That's true.
Mantis, on the other hand, I don't necessarily think that she was on the same page as Drax when it came to going up against Thanos or a family, but she was Ego's daughter, which makes her and Chris or Star-Lord brother and sister.
Yeah.
So you see that she helps in different ways. And, you know, obviously in the end of, in this last film of hers, you can see that she's actually fairly powerful. She can take care of herself without anybody else's help. You know, a lot of people thought of her as like a damsel in distress, but she's like, no, I don't need y'all. I never did. You know? And so
she has the 3 obelisks now, you know.
Yeah, exactly. Oh yeah, those freaking beasts, those heavy warriors.
Yeah, which by the way were in volume 2 in the very beginning.
Yeah, wasn't that the creature they were fighting at the beginning?
Yep.
That's what I thought. I was like, isn't this the creature that they were like fighting?
I thought
at the beginning of the movie, and I couldn't remember. I'm like, I think it is, but it come to find out they're not even violent. They're just misunderstood.
They just eat batteries, you know. They don't eat
humans. They only eat batteries. Yeah. And here they are just killing them.
We definitely see super growth in these characters, especially the ones that won't be returning anytime soon. I feel like they will come or return when like there's another like Thanos type event. Maybe
like Kang.
Maybe.
Well,
like Kang. Yeah, maybe. If they keep up with Kang, because rumors are that they might drop the character.
Jonathan Majors is in trouble.
Oh yeah,
yeah, man, that sucks, man. I really like his acting. I thought he would be like the next Denzel.
He's pretty good,
but yeah, I was just like, I have the same. It's the same thing with Johnny Depp too. That same reasoning.
I have a question. You talked about Mantis being a damsel in distress. Can you explain to me why she was the only one not being able to control herself when they went all Among Us with those little space suits, you know?
She But she kept she landed exactly where she needed to. You know what I mean? Like she's just as she's clumsy, you know, which
that was hilarious though.
Yeah. Like everybody is like solid and performing what they need to do, foot down, and she's over here like, wait.
She tripped on her way out, so it started causing her to spin. And once you start moving in space, there's nothing much you can do about it. You're just going.
Like, oh, dang.
Yep. And it's funny that you brought up Among Us too, because I was like, "Yo, Among Us."
Yeah,
like, yeah. I was like, James Gunn must have did that on purpose for sure.
Right.
Oh, and then the part where Star-Lord is pushing Dark Blue to talk to Gamora.
Yeah.
And then come to find out that everybody was able to listen into their conversation. And then they're like, blue is green and green's yellow. I'm like, who came up with this stuff?
And then I like that whole part is like, Peter, we can all hear you, right? And they're like, what? Why did you just tell me now? And then Nebula's like, we were just hoping that it would end soon.
Yeah.
Josh was like,
I swear, Nebula was so good. I enjoyed her parts so much.
Yeah.
It was just so different from what she usually does. But man,
for sure. Especially Drax's reaction to it. He's like, oh, that was so sad. I was like, Drax is always the funniest dude that gives the like, he burns these characters, but in a tone that just sounds like it's just a regular conversation.
Right,
He's
right.
Like, hey, morons.
Like
He's
the
like, all right, morons. Yeah.
The pond. Gomorrah is the leaf or whatever, something like that.
Oh yeah, right. Oh, dude, his analogies.
Yeah.
Dude. And you know what's funny too? Drax was like, "Wait, Mantis, you think I'm an idiot?" And Mantis goes, "Forget." And I'm like, "Why is that hilarious right now, dude?" I started dying, and people next to me in the theater was like, "I'm sorry, that was such a random issue that she had to just like, oh yeah, just forget." By the way.
But it's interesting you bringing that up. It's interesting that she does that because I think it's I wonder. It's because she's very sympathetic, right, or empathetic. I always forget which word is which. Yeah. Empathetic. She could really feel other people's feelings, right? She feels what their pain is, and she understands their emotions, right? Because if you remember at the beginning of the movie, Drax tells Mantis, "Why don't you make Star-Lord forget?" And she says, "It's not nice to manipulate other people's mind or your friend's minds or something like that," right? But here she is with Drax, and she goes, "Forget," right? She didn't even think twice because and which is kind of funny. It's kind of messed up at the same time, but I think it's because she knows that Peter can handle it. And I don't think Drax can. Because if you kind of look at Drax, in some cases, Drax is like just a ginormous kid, right? Because he doesn't understand. He's a dad, but he's also like mentally, he's a kid sometimes because he doesn't. He has like a one-track mind about everything he does.
Yeah.
So I think because she understands who Drax is, and am I wrong in believing that she cares for him in a more romantic sense? Because every time I see them communicating with each other, I'm always like, do you guys love each other, but you just don't know this? Or at least her to him. I don't know if him to her, but her to him, it always feels like she has like a romantic relationship with him.
It feels right?
It's like they don't want to go any further than what. Yeah, right. Yeah, that's how I feel.
It feels.
So I feel like that's why she's easier to go to his mind and say forget, because she doesn't want him to be hurt by her whatever she's saying, and she never wants to hurt anybody's feelings because she's always, like I said, she's always empathetic about other people's feelings and doesn't want that, which makes sense since she can read everybody's freaking mind.
Right. And I don't know why Nebula thought she was any weaker, because I'm pretty sure she had Thanos' mind like on lock, you know?
Yeah.
He feels pain. He is hurt. You know, like I'm like, oh, and I think it was sympathetic, not empathetic. Empathetic is a little different.
Sympathetic?
I think so.
One of them, somebody write it in the comments. One of them means to feel other people's feelings and be and go through those emotions with them. And the other one is you understand their feelings. Like I get what you're feeling, and that's it. Like you don't feel the same they do. But you can understand what they're feeling.
Yeah,
I always forget which way
to go about it.
So basically, sympathy is like I'm sorry. Empathy is more like I'm hurting with you, basically.
Oh, okay.
Yeah,
so
there you go. That's a good.
So
one.
she's empathetic, right?
Yeah, because she's
hurting.
Feel it. Yeah,
right. She can feel it. She feel when they feel it. She feels it.
With Drax, she felt sympathy because she understood so she made him forget. You know what I mean?
Yeah,
before you get angry, let me just see your head real quick. Thank you. Yeah.
But yeah, no. Talking about Mantis, probably my favorite scene. This scene had me dying. I was laughing for like 3 minutes straight when this happened. Was when they were releasing all the kids from the cages, and she goes to that one cage, and there's that dysmorphed human body.
Oh,
and she goes,
my God.
I was like, there was something really scary behind you. And it scared me. It wasn't you. You don't look ugly at all. I think you look really cool. This way, please. I was dying. I could not stop laughing. That was so funny. She's like, oh, I saw something scary behind you.
Oh my
like,
God.
You're so bad. And the creature didn't even mind. He's like, thank you. And he just walks out the thing. Oh, I was dying. That was one of the funniest parts of the whole thing. That was the funniest part of the whole thing for me. I could not stop laughing there.
Dude, I kept laughing every time that, Drax called the kids morons.
Oh yeah. Hey morons.
Hey morons.
Okay, so Adam Warlock, right? He was Aisha's spawn, offspring, maybe, I don't know, creation to be like the best version of their people.
Mm-hmm.
And the high evolutionary wakes him up too early. You see in the beginning of the movie, this dude is flying to nowhere. He is flying through space as if space had air out there, It wasn't some vacuum type place. He was fine. I'm like, okay, this dude is powerful. He messed up Rocket, which kind of starts off this whole movie. And, what was crazy is that there was this TikTok or actually in the trailer, you see Nebula carrying Star-Lord, know, because it looked like he was like passed out.
Uh-huh.
Mm-hmm.
I thought in the show that like he died or, he's going to be revived or something like that.
Yeah.
But no, spoilers, y'all, he is drunk.
Yeah.
And on TikTok, we find out that she's not holding Chris Pratt. She's holding a 35-pound like 3D object that looks just like him.
Yeah, I saw that. I was like, dang, that's crazy. That looks so
crazy.
Realistic. Yeah.
Absolutely. I'm like, yo, what is going on in this franchise?
That was really crazy. I was like, dang, we're that much closer to cloning.
Yeah,
because that thing looked exactly like him, and it was just cool because you can see her at the you can see what's her name, Karen. It's like she's touching, it's like it's like because it looked. I'm guessing it felt real. And there's Chris Pratt standing like off camera, but you can hear him talking. He's like, that looks exactly like me. So it's like you're looking at a fake Chris Pratt while Chris Pratt is standing right there. And it weighs like 35 pounds. And she's like, now you got to carry it. Like, I don't want to touch that.
It looks like
so just going back a little bit to the AI world idea, that is what I'm talking about. Like it's fake, but it's trying to look real. There's something innate in our minds that goes, ooh, that's creepy, right? I'm telling you. And even though this is not even AI, it's just a gelatinous thing of Chris Pratt, but it looks like him, and it's off-putting. I know you're like just like, whoa, that's weird.
Mm-hmm.
But yeah, no, that was pretty cool.
Of Altered Carbon, I believe it's called. Altered Carbon is where these people can move their consciousness into another body, and they call it sleeves. So like, I could choose another sleeve, like a 6'5" sleeve, with an incredible body, and I guess trained for, I don't know, militant combat, or triathlon, athletic, you know what I mean? Like there's all these sleeves that have these things uploaded. And when I saw the Chris Pratt doll, it reminded me of that.
Interesting.
But yeah, so anyway, sorry, we were talking about Adam Warlock. So he was woken up a little bit too early, and he got sent to nowhere to get rid of the Guardians. And that scene where, Nebula's carrying out Chris Pratt drunk happens because of that. Because they're like, oh snap, we got to go figure out what's going on, what's happening. And so you see Star-Lord putting on the med pack on top of Rocket and it not working, and he has like a bomb in his heart, and that's where you kind of figure out the past of Rocket. And then, because throughout the movies, even in Avengers, he talks about he keeps things secret. He's very secretive about a lot of things, other than intelligence.
Never had a background.
And then it made me think, I'm like, if Rocket met Iron Man, Rocket seemed a lot more intelligent than Iron Man when he was a baby. Not gonna lie, he made a scrambler while being captivated, just like how Iron Man made an entire suit while he was captivated. But I'm just like, yo, Rocket is incredible. You know what I mean? He was so smart. And and so Warlock taking him out actually set them back a little bit. However, you still got Chris Pratt, who's like a brilliant tactician, I think. And especially when you see Chris Pratt trying to use his charm in that
scene.
In that one scene where she's all like, all right, so how to get in here, the mainframe? He's like, I just act stupid. I know what I'm doing. I'm like, I was like, nah, dog. I was like, sometimes you say the weirdest things. Is Footloose the single best movie in the world? Like, no, it never was. And then you see Adam Warlock also shows up on Counter Earth, and you see that he is supposed to get rid of the Guardians again, right? But on his mission, the planet starts to explode, and then he like figures out that his mom's in danger, so he goes out. He's like, mother, and then boom, and I'm just like, they just killed his mom like that. I was like, oh my gosh, Aisha, no, and I'm like, how does that even work? And so I was like, did he get affected by it? And then I did remember that his character is more like Superman, right? Mm-hmm. So seeing him like all burnt up and fried up with his clothes all like zinged off, it kind of felt a little weird to have him in the scene. I'm like, what is he gonna do? Like, is he important at all? And I was like, is he gonna be a part of the team? I don't see the connection yet. And we see it later on when it's that final battle in space. And I gotta say, I don't know if you guys noticed, but you remember when Chris Pratt jumped off of the ship and ended up in space, right? And then he had the little zoom device, and his finger's like this, right? And so you just see a finger just kind of come on.
I was like, "What is that?"
And I'm like,
Da Vinci.
And I was like, Adam Warlock, and I was like, of course, Will Poulter, throwing in his random funniness. I hope that was his idea. Because yeah, man, like I always liked his characters. I liked them. I liked them in We Are the Millers, especially when he used to sing the TLC song. And so seeing him go from a dude that did what mom says to a dude that can only listen to the High Evolutionary to a guy that is trying to look for redemption after and revenge, apparently, which I thought Warlock was going to do. So remember when Rocket was about to, die at the hands of the High Evolutionary. Then you see everybody come back, right? All the entire group, even Gamora was there, and you just see the High Evolutionary getting absolutely destroyed by this group. And I'm just like, oh, geez, right? And I was just like, okay, this is way better than I thought it'd be. But I really wanted Warlock to be like just kind of like float up, being super buff, like, and then like have that golden aura around him with his eyes glowing and saying his name or whatever, and
like
just like
Saiyan.
Going, like a Super Saiyan or Gold Frieza, no, but just him getting super just like angry at the fact that he killed his mom. But that was I could be far from the truth, and I was still I was more happy that he didn't at this point. But I was really hoping that we would see like a super like angry Adam Warlock, but it would be against his character arc in the film because he is not a realized warrior yet. So it's definitely going to be a lot longer until he is one.
For sure.
Yeah, with the whole Adam Warlock saving Quill, that's because he got that second chance. Because who was the one who carried him out?
Nebula?
Yeah, it was Nebula. Nebula carried him out, and then he was asking why, and she was like, "It's everybody deserves a second chance." So that was like the reason why he went and got Quill, which I thought he was going to be done over there because, yeah, he did go and try to get his iPod, whatever, and then or his Zoom player. He had a good idea by using the pressure from the host to kind of propel himself back into the main ship that they were from or they were at. And then Groot saw that he got that Quill got caught by the other metals that surround the space. So obviously that stopped him in his tracks. And Groot was trying to get him, and then all of his branches turned into ice. I was like, oh no, this is it for Quill. And then that one scene, touch, and then there goes Adam Warlock. So
so random.
But I'm going to address the elephant in the room here. And if you guys, spoiler alert, if you guys are very sensitive to, I guess, animal cruelty, this movie is
not for you.
Not for you. I watched it with Paulina, and let me just tell you, we have 3 dogs. We used to have a rabbit, and we used to have a guinea pig. So we're like animal lovers. Her more than I am, So I can see her. There's a scene where Rocket goes back and just looks at all the animals that's there towards the end, and they're all locked up in cages and stuff. Now, mind you, like throughout the whole movie, this dude, the Higher Evolution, whatever his name is again, but he was doing tests upon tests and stuff. And so I'm thinking, we got animal cruelty. So, and I looked over, and I'm like looking over at Paulina, and I'm like, are you okay? She's just staring at the movie, like with her jaw wide open, like, I'm like, okay, I'm going to just leave her alone. I'll talk to her after the movie. And then after the movie, I talked to her about it. I'm like, you good? And she's like, yeah, it's so crazy. And then something popped in my head. I'm like, like products that we as humans use are tested on animals. So it's kind of like this movie reminded me a lot about how a lot of our gel or shampoo or bar of soaps or toothpaste, anything that has to do with hygiene has been tested on animals. And then here's the Higher Evolutionary trying to make a perfect species out of animals. Like, what the heck? Super animal cruelty there. And then we got Rocket's friends who didn't make it out of the ship. We got Floor, we got Lila, and we got Teefs. And I'm like, they built up this huge friendship, and the whole plan was them to escape to go to the sky by rocket, by means of a rocket ship, but it didn't take into fruition, obviously. But it was just a way that, and I think, and I'm thinking to myself, like, I think this is how Rocket began to be disgruntled about life in general, because, he lost his friends. And then I think now with the Guardians of the Galaxy, he doesn't want to kind of fail his friends as the new Guardians of the Galaxy, which I thought it was pretty cool. In the end, he became captain. Because
even though he thought he was captain the whole time.
I was gonna say that parts 1 and 2, and even during the Avengers series with Thanos, he just thought he was captain, right? And Lila, I guess towards the end where he was like nearly passing away, Lila comes back and says, "You're not done yet, and this story has been yours all along." And I was like, oh. Oh man, that got me in the feels. Like this movie just hits you in a whole bunch of different emotions. It's crazy, like Spidey sense tingly. It's crazy. So, so I just wanted to throw that out there.
Definitely, PETA would not approve.
I was just like, oh man,
because so pretty much the entire movie we're flashbacking. We're doing flashbacks on Rocket's, childhood, and you realize where he comes from. So you definitely understand why he doesn't like talking about his past. But it kind of puts into perspective if you think about it, like him losing the 3 friends when he was a child. Definitely, like when you think about it, when Groot died in the first movie, right? How emotional he was about it, because he's already lost 3 friends. That were really close to him, right? They were like, it was his family. There's no other way to put that. And here's Groot, and now Groot dies, and you see him just be like just fully just destroyed, and you're like, dang man, that's so sad. But now watching this, you're like, oh, I understand. You already lost so much before, right? So yeah, my wife though, she hates. Let me repeat that: hates movies and where animals die. Hates it. She will. If we're watching a movie at home If an animal dies, she's done. She's not going to watch it anymore. She does not like when animals die.
Yeah.
People died, she doesn't give two farts about it.
Mm-hmm. I'm gonna have to agree because Pauline's the same way. Pauline's the same way.
An animal dies, and you're on her list. You know what I'm saying? You're done, right? So she was super pissed when Lila and Teef and Floor died. She was so devastated. She like, why do they have to die? I'm like, so that Rocket could become who he became, right? I mean, it's just the matter of the fact. But also, I think because you were talking about how you seeing that you thought about like how we experiment on animals today still about when we shampoos and all these other products that we consume to see if it's safe for us, right? And like in part, I think that was the base of that movie, right? The evolutionary or the high evolutionary is human society. It is the human being. Right. He represented us in every capacity. How we have no sympathy or no empathy or we don't care at all about what we do to our world, what we do to the other animals, right? What we do to each other. Like we are high evolutionary in that sense, right? He is the worst parts of humans.
Right.
And so watching the movie, that's what it kept popping into my head is like when he created the Counter Earth and you see that nothing changed, that the animals, even though he made them perfect, they didn't change. There was still violence. There was still corruption. There was still all this bad stuff happening. And he was like, well, time to get rid of it. Right.
Yeah.
And he didn't even falter and say, well, it's time to destroy.
No hesitation.
No hesitation.
And how many times have we as humans in society in the pursuit of science, right? And I'm not saying like and in part I do understand that there's a certain level of sacrifice that we believe needed to be made in order to reach this point. But it doesn't mean that it was a good thing. But how many times have we also sacrificed animals in the pursuit of science for knowledge, the gain of knowledge or wisdom or advances in science or just in advances in everyday products, right? Shampoo is what it is because of the testing we did in animals and all this.
Right.
And once again, I don't condone it, right? But I understand that it was part of human history, but yeah, definitely high evolutionary is us in the worst ways, right?
Yeah, I totally agree with you because us in the worst ways because we're testing it on animals to get that perfect hair, that perfect smell, the perfect smile. It's those things that just came into my mind. I'm like, wow, I just thought about like I try to think about things like that when we're watching the movie. But it was just so hilarious, So the movie was just so hilarious.
They had to do that because of the three movies, of actually excluding the last scene where Stark snaps his fingers, excluding that scene. Oh, and excluding where Peter Parker, Spider-Man, evaporates.
Oh,
right?
Yeah.
Excluding those two scenes, this movie in general was probably the saddest Marvel movie. It was devastating from beginning to end. It was just so sad. So of course they had to put all this comedy in there because can you imagine sitting there? How long was this movie? This movie was 2 hours and a half.
2.5 hours of brutality and hilariousness.
Can you imagine just sitting there for 2.5 hours, just crying your eyes out because it's just so sad? Like other than the funny parts that they put in this movie, there was no lightheartedness.
Yeah,
those were the only moments of lightheartedness.
And because of how the characters were built, it was great. Like the timing was just almost too good, where between the sad moments and the funny moments and the hilarious randomness of the film. So yeah, you definitely see all of these being touched at the right times at the right moment. It wasn't like one scene didn't overlap the other. The finger touch, that was so funny to me. I was just like, Sistine Chapel much? I'm just like, all right. And so I was like, okay. and then Chris Pratt got bigger. And you know what's funny? You know how Gamora said that she has to get back to her family, which was the Ravagers.
Yeah. Right.
And you see Star-Lord like, I'm a Ravager. You're not. He's like, what are you talking about? Like, I was like, oh, that's right. He is he's 100% Ravager.
Yep.
And he just decided not to roll with them anymore.
Yeah.
And speaking of Ravager, you see Kraglin trying to figure out that whistle weapon,
the telepathic arrow.
Yeah. And then you see Yondu. There you go.
Yeah.
I keep thinking of his Walking Dead character every time I think of him. And I was like, you see Meryl. I was like, wait, no, that's not him. Yeah, Yondu. Yeah, Yondu's like, you do it from the heart, boy.
Yeah.
And I was just like,
that was a good one.
I was like, oh, did he make a cameo in this, or did he film this like years ago?
Right. I was wondering the same thing actually.
I'm like, dang, he looks exactly the same.
Yeah. And so I thought it was really cool to see Kraglin get used to how knowing how to use that weapon. And I'm like, yeah, how do you use that? And then of course, you see Cosmo, the little Russian dog, and being told that she was a bad dog. Like, can you believe it? He called me a bad dog. Everybody's like, ooh, that's a bit much, man. And then he's like, I don't know, because Cosmo was being a bad dog. And they're like,
guys, Cosmo clutch.
Yeah. That last scene where she was holding the freaking ships together, I was like, "Damn, you a strong telepathic dog."
Yeah.
That was impressive.
I was like, "Oh my gosh!" And then Mantis came in. It gave her words of wisdom, and she's like, "Oh yeah, I got this."
I don't know why, but that part where she's like, "You are strong," I almost cried just because you can see the dog struggling so hard to keep these two together, and then like Mantis just had the like whatever she was trying to be kind, it was so good. And like when she went up to Cosmo and just touched her and said, "You are strong," I literally almost started crying because I was like, man, you know how much this dog is struggling to have all these people jump out.
You're right. All the kids, all the animals. Oh man.
Yeah. So that's definitely. I thought it was crazy though, because like the dog had to also. I don't know if the dog itself was a real dog, but there was an expression that the dog made or Cosmo made where it was like struggling, it was baring his teeth, baring his teeth like. And I was like, oh, that dog was like he's struggling. But you see those two coming back in this film, and ultimately you see Kraglin still a part of the crew, I think, right?
He's part of the Guardians.
I know he was a Guardian, but he is actually the ship. He's a ship handler. You know what I mean? He handles the entirety of Nowhere. And now it makes sense, because I was just like, what is that thing called? What is it called something? And I was like, oh, it's Nowhere. Here. Of course it's Nowhere.
It's
now here.
And I'm like, wait, Howard the Duck is there.
Yeah.
I was like, of course, because the Collector had him there.
Right.
Yeah.
So that means almost every kind of being is on this ship. And I'm just like, that is nuts. Yeah. Like everything is there. You know what I mean?
Collect the whole set.
Yeah, exactly. he has all the sets. I don't know if he has more than one set, but he had a set. And, you see that, the animals being there. I don't know if they kept the animals on Nowhere, because they did drop Star-Lord off at the end. And I'm like,
that's true. I guess you could drop off all the animals.
Yeah, they're all Earth animals. No, I'm pretty sure they were.
Wasn't that kind of weird that they were all Earth animals? Like you didn't pick up any alien animals?
Yeah, just no regular animals.
Why has it got to be a baby raccoon?
He really had an obsession with Earth.
Yeah,
the high evolutionary, right?
Yeah,
so I guess that's why. But yeah, no, when Kraglin like achieved the like using the telepathic arrow and just went and just started wrecking all the what were they called? I forgot what they were called. Oh man, I forgot what they're called.
I know the pig warrior.
Creatures. The pig warrior. Yeah. But that was dope. I was like, yeah, let's go, Kraglin. You got control of your arrow. So that was pretty dope. He was killing it. He was literally just killing it.
Yeah, he did a great job, because I was just like, oh man, how are they going to survive this? Because they need something powerful. And then you had Kraglin figuring it out, and then you also had Cosmo smashing that one warrior with the 2 slabs of wall.
Yeah, just smashed it.
And I'm like,
freaking sandwich.
Oh, let's go, Cosmo. Yeah, so you
and then on top of that, he held it two spaceships together so that so that people could cross.
Cosmo,
right?
Holy smokes! Like, what does he
eat? He's more than just a Russian golden retriever.
All right.
How about that fight scene towards the end, though?
It was good.
Against the High Evolutionary or the one in the hallway?
Oh, both of them.
Because the one in the hallway was so sick. And what made it really cool is that Gamora is not a part of this team, but Gamora fought as if she had never left.
Yeah.
Everything just seemed right for her. And I think her face, I don't know if you guys are paying attention, her face was like, and it's like she felt like she had to cut here. She felt like she had to shoot there. Like it almost seemed by nature, right?
Right.
All of her movements. That's why she killed the last person. She killed the last enemy. And then you just see them all just kind of just like look around. I'm like, oh yeah. Yeah. And what was up with Nebula and Gamora? That's how they say hi?
Yeah.
They didn't do that in the beginning, did they? I don't remember that. It's been years since I've seen the first one. I mean, I watch that
back and forth.
That's also true.
Yeah,
that was their only way of really like showing that they loved each other. Was just going grunting. I thought we were in Home Improvement for a second. But, but yeah, no. That scene definitely the both fighting scenes were pretty great. And okay, so here's I have an issue. I have an issue. This is my issue. Look at it. Okay. No, I'm going to bring it when we're talking about the negative stuff. But I did notice one thing for sure. It's like, was it just me or was this movie like more gory than any of the other movies? It felt way gorier.
It seemed right more rated R-ish because the F-bomb was dropped in this movie too.
That also blew my mind. I'm just like, did you really just say the F word? What the heck is going on, people?
I think Deadpool wasn't here.
Yeah, I think it was because there wasn't any nudity. Because the nudity, if they did have it, I believe it'd be rated R. Because if you think about it, other than slasher
films,
teen movie, yeah. Like slasher films are definitely rated R, but I guess Marvel didn't think much of it.
Oh yeah, that was crazy to me. I was just like,
yeah, Chris Pratt just dropped the bomb on him.
Yeah, I honestly didn't think it was a necessary word in that moment, but whatever.
Just a little bit over the top, yeah.
Yeah. All right, so let's get to the negatives, shall we?
Of course.
Okay,
naturally.
So,
fire away.
Okay, so this is a little. I have a few issues. One.
Oh wow.
High Evolutionary, in my opinion, I could be wrong, doesn't seem like he's stronger than Kang the Conqueror. Okay.
It is not.
And yet, Ant-Man did away with Kang the Conqueror much easier than they did with High Evolutionary. I think that's BS. Kang the Conqueror, and I said this during the Ant-Man review that it felt like Kang the Conqueror was way too weak and they kind of just beat him up way too easily, right? And here you are with High Evolutionary, who I would argue is not really a fighter of any kind, but held his own much better than and he was fighting like 5 people, right? So he held his own much better than Kang the Conqueror. That's one of my like stripes with the movie was that. The other one, which I felt was an unnecessary scene, it did not bring comedy and it was just kind of stupid in my opinion, was when all the animals were crossing over and that lady was waiting and the monkey came and jumped on her and then started scratching her face.
Oh yeah.
I was like
that was not necessary.
I was like, what was the point of that? Why did you make the monkey scratch her face? That didn't make any sense to me, right? It wasn't a comedy. I didn't laugh. I was just like,
that was
maybe for the kids.
Maybe, but man, if that's what kids find funny, I don't know where we're gonna head up. But I didn't think it was necessary. Like there were so many funny parts in the movie, and that was definitely not what I just like. What that I don't understand what that whole point was. I will say this though, on a positive, the comedy in this movie was, in my opinion, 10 times better than the comedy in Thor: Love and Thunder.
Yeah,
Love and Thunder made it feel like they were forcing all the laughter in it. And this one just did it naturally.
This one was a lot more natural.
Yeah. It's because Thor was the one that's kind of like the bumbly guy. He belonged in this movie, if anything. But the other characters around him were not the same. They didn't have the same caliber of clumsiness, of tactless. They, a lot of them weren't that way. Whereas, Chris Pratt, he understood a lot of things, but he makes a lot of mistakes. But he always has contingency plans of his own in his head that's just always running. You have Drax, who is tactless, always says some things that are wrong, but he says it to not be mean, but just to say it to be like, you've got it tough, man. Deal with it. You know what I mean? That's the type he's in.
I don't know. I felt like they made Thor, like I swear Thor in the first Thor movie, in comparison as it went on, they made him more dumb.
He got dumber.
Like he just became dumber every time, and I'm just like, what? And then in Love and Thunder, he was just an absolute imbecile. Like he didn't know how to do anything. I'm just like, bro. Like there were some fun. Don't get me wrong. There were funny parts in the movie, but like him being like having only 2 brain cells was not a funny part of the movie.
Yeah. No, but like what I meant though is like he was the only one that made sense to be that way. So if anybody else tried to be funny around him, it wouldn't make any sense. The only other person that could keep up with that bumbly self of his would be Korg.
Right. And Korg was pretty funny. I enjoyed Korg. He every time his scenes came up, I laughed.
Yeah, and so this one, but you're definitely right. This was timing versus tragedy plus timing is comedy, and they had it. They had it.
They did a much better job. Randolph, what do you think? What are your negatives?
I don't know. Besides the fact that they had to do that with the animals,
hey, that's true.
That just still gets into me. But I think you're. So are you saying that Kang is stronger than? I'm just gonna call him HE, I guess. High. I was thinking that too. So is HE, is he stronger than Kang, or is it the other way around?
No, I think Kang is stronger than HE. Because if you think about it, Kang conquers every universe he enters. Right? Like every version of him has conquered, and they've all come to understand each other. They've known about the multiverse before anybody else did. They have an extreme power. Like Kang is like almost God level, right? And high evolutionary, in my opinion, he's just an intelligent being who has no feelings.
Right.
He's not technically strong. He doesn't have any powers, except for whatever his suit was able to do, which was like you could manipulate gravity, I guess it was.
Yeah.
So, but other than that, like I don't think he had any abilities. Now, like I said, if I'm wrong, you can write it in the comments. Let me know. I don't know much about high evolutionary, but Kang the Conqueror to me was a much stronger adversary than high evolutionary, but it looked like they struggled more with high evolutionary than they did with Kang, than Ant-Man did with Kang.
Well, I think, and also too, you can't forget that they had Rocket out of the, and they had a time crunch. Everything was what had to be done within a certain time frame. So although
48
it
hours,
seem like
that.
Although they did seem to have a hard time with it, they had a hard time to keeping Rocket alive. And I think it wasn't so much that they could just easily destroy him. They didn't have the time to. Whereas Ant-Man did have the time to fight Kang. Like they they had to make sure he didn't leave. You know what I mean?
Mm-hmm.
So it wasn't like it wasn't like someone was dying and they had to make sure he didn't leave. They only had to worry about the Kang the Conqueror. Granted, they also had mega smart ants. that were 1,000 years smart. You know what I mean? Like, I'm like, okay, these ants are mega smart. They created this a very shadow world in the same universe, or maybe in the same quantum, in the realm, and it looks just like King the Conqueror's world.
Yeah,
world's all blue.
I don't even have any negatives to the film. It's just, besides that whole animal cruelty one, and that's pretty much it. It had a good amount of humor, good amount of action, a lot of background story gave me the feels, like sadness and all that good and bad stuff. So no, I don't know. I can't really. This movie is not. It's actually not bad. It's how usually sequels or the sequel to the sequel are the ones that are like not as good as the first one. But I personally think that 3 triumphs the second and first volume.
Absolutely.
Hands down. I have to say that. And with that being said, I think this trilogy, I want to call it the trilogy because I think Guardians of the Galaxy, spoiler alert, yes, there are going to be some more Guardians of the Galaxy, and there's going to be another one, maybe a solo film for the legendary Star-Lord, maybe. Who knows?
Well, I said he was coming back, so.
Yeah, so I mean, I think it was just a great way to end the Guardians of the Galaxy trilogy, and we finally got a background story on Rocket, and along with that, we got some more characters like Adam Warlock, and he's in the Guardians of the Galaxy too. So I just can't wait to see if this team is going to be in the next Avengers movie, facing off Kang. Maybe the Secret Wars, or maybe the Kang Dynasty, or something like that.
Secret Wars, I'm very excited for.
So I'm just interested to see. Yeah. Oh, the Marvels. Yeah, they play that trailer at the beginning of the movie. So.
Yep.
But yeah, that's my little 2 cents right there. Not a lot of negatives. So.
I guess my negative. It wasn't that much of a negative, but I was kind of disappointed at it that I thought Warlock was going to get the last piece of High Evolutionary. I thought he was going to come in like, guns a-blazing, gold aura, like lighting eyes. I'm like, oh, that's going to be so sick if he does that. And no, he didn't do that. Instead, we get this incredible montage of the Guardians absolutely destroying the High Evolutionary.
They had to.
Well, you know what I mean? Like, they could have done all that, and Evolutionary could have, like, tried to escape, but bumped into Adam Warlock. That would have been insane.
And then gives him the finger. The finger.
Yeah. The finger. And I guess that was one. And then the other one was actually, so you remember how I thought it was funny with the octopus giving drugs to the roaches? At first, I thought it was weed, but when they said meth, and I was like, meth? I was like, that's weird, because it looked like a Rasta dude, right? A Jamaican cat. I'm like, this is like almost racist.
A little stereotypical, don't you think?
What the heck? I was just like, all right, whatever. Whatever the case is. I thought it was just weed. I was just like, okay. I was like, maybe they're playing music, No, they weren't. That was meth.
It's straight up meth.
So I guess those two are the only issues I had. Oh, I mean, and I guess the third one, it was more sad than it was an issue. But when the Bat family died with their planet.
Yeah, I mean, first they get hit by the ball, and then their whole house.
Oh, the ball. Oh, dude, yeah, the ball. He chucked that thing, dude.
Yeah, he did.
Yeah, wrong impression, Drax. Good job.
Mm-hmm. I will say, because another negative I had is I did feel like the middle of this movie was a little slow. Like, there were points in this movie that's like, man, this feels like it's going on forever, right? And I'm like, I honestly thought this movie was 3 hours and a half from me sitting there. I was like, man, this is a long movie. And then that's why when I looked up here and I'm like, 2 hours and a half, that was it. Dang, that middle part must have gone hecka slow. Like, they were kind of dragging it a little bit. But I don't mind that too much if they do some good stuff. But I did feel it. I was like, man, are we going to move along a little? And then the other thing I just remembered, which now I just forgot. Freak. Because I am not a fan of sad movies and / sad endings And the fact that they didn't reunite kind of made, I understand why they didn't, because it's kind of like you've grown up, right? You're all growing differently and you're all going in different directions, right? You can't always be together forever. I get that. But it was sad to me to see that Gamora didn't stay with them. And it was sad to me to see Gamora so happy with the what are they called? The Ravagers. Like that was her family. You can see it when she got back and how happy they were to see her and everything. Like, so that was sad. It was sad to see that Quill left and that Mantis left. Like, and Mantis and Drax had that little sad moment where they said bye to each other. That's why I'm like, bro, they are like in love with each other, right? That's what we're getting at this, but they just don't know it yet. But so I'm not like I said, I'm not a fan of those kind of endings. I like a solidified ending, but I get why you did that or why they did that. Mm-hmm. I just didn't like that they did it, and then all the animal cruelty was rough. That was some sad stuff.
Yeah, I mean, all good things had to come to an end, especially with the band of the Guardians of the Galaxy. And so I like the fact that they actually gave some kind of closure, not to like all of a sudden like, oh, where did she go? Oh, why did he go there? Oh, she's still there, but why? Like they gave some kind of like a future side of what they're gonna do. Like
right, yeah. Mm-hmm.
Like they explained themselves a little bit, where Mantis is like, I need to be my own. I need to find myself. I grew up and created on egos. And so I wanted to explore what else I could do because I am powerful. And then Quill meeting up with his grandfather. Yeah. Was it his grandfather? Yeah. And then to Rocket finally becoming captain of the ship. And Groot is like this big old
beast.
Big old
He is
boulder
an
of a beast
absolute
now.
Beast.
I didn't even notice he was there. Like, oh my gosh. He's like,
bro, he looked like Guile, actually. I was like, well, yo, why has he got a buzz cut?
Yeah, we got Swole Groot here,
Yeah, I was like, yo, he went to the gym or something like that. He didn't curse. He didn't say, I am Groot. You know what I'm saying? Like, I was surprised he didn't curse again.
Yeah.
But yeah, Groot was, yeah. I'm glad he's still there.
Yeah.
Definitely.
Because I did not know that during that last scene, I did not know that Rocket was sitting on someone.
I know. Right. I thought it was a rock. I thought it was a rock. What the heck?
I was like, nope, it's a tree.
And when he called Groot, he's like, all right, Groot, time to go to work. And he comes out, I'm like, is he a rock now? What the heck? And he's like, oh no, he's still a tree. He just had a bunch of sand on him or whatever, dust or whatever the heck it was.
Right. But and also the little kid that Choop Choop all of a sudden could speak English.
Choop Choop.
Yeah.
And I'm like,
Choop Choop. Choop Choop.
Huh. Okay. Well, it was whatever.
Well, like, and we don't know how long they've been. You don't know what that time period is either, right?
True.
Like, it could have been years now that when that scene was placed. So she probably knows how to speak English.
Yeah. But like, it's like she had Naruto scars on her face. Well,
what was her powers?
I believe it was the same as the evolutionary.
So from what I understand, she has similar powers to, I believe it is to the Marvels. She has similar powers to the Marvel from the comics. Now, are they going to do the same thing or not? I don't know, but because my wife looked it up, and I think they were saying that I forgot what her name is. She has an interesting name.
Phyla Vel.
Yeah. She in the comics, she's related to Marvel, a Marvel character, or she has Marvel powers somehow. So that is her powers.
But
yeah.
Okay, this should be interesting.
Yeah. So I wonder if she's gonna be. I wonder if they're gonna be in the Marvels movie with the three.
I guess we'll see.
Probably not.
Well, I guess in this case, I'll start with the grade of the movie. The movie was actually very great. It was, I didn't really feel that slowness that you felt in the movie.
Mm-hmm.
So I thought it was actually greatly paced. So I was able to find, or I guess the flow was really, was really nice. The comedy, like you guys were saying, is 10 times better than in the beginning, and even Thor 4. And so I was just saying, the comedy was there. The random sexual tension that was between Drax and Mantis has always been there for me as well. I was always jealous because I was like, Mantis was hella cute. to me. But so I was like, yeah, it feels like they're gonna get together, like especially when they were on Ego. I was just like, yo, they sat down next to each other talking about it, but he goes ahead and calls her ugly. He's like, you're just so ugly.
Ugly.
So
Gosh.
yeah. So you had all the random sexual tension between them. Then you also have the random sexual tension between Quill and Nebula, which I thought was awesome.
Oh.
And
Yeah.
So you see all that, and so I'm gonna give this movie an A+. Everything just felt right about this movie. It was a good send off. Even though I had gripes with certain issues, there was actually a good reason as to why most of them were the way they were or ended up. So I'm gonna give it an A+. I would definitely go see it. I would want to own it on DVD or whatever is the physical copies, if they're ever selling digital copies.
Yeah.
I hope that movies do not stop selling physical copies, because if they do, and I don't know, the world goes into the Stone Age, you will never be able to see those movies again. So that is my
story.
2 cents.
True story. I like that one scene where Peter and Nebula were just going back and forth. Like, I just didn't realize how black your eyes were. Like, I was like, dang.
My dad gave me these eyes as a form of torture. I'm just saying he picked a good set.
He picked a good set, yeah. He picked a good set.
Just like, bro, just stop.
Oh man. But I yeah, that's funny. I'm gonna give it a 9.5 out of 10.
Oh,
well, no, obviously the 0.5 was because of the animal stuff. I think they could have they tortured the poor things. I mean, the rabbit had a little.
It was too real.
It was too much. It was too real. For me, it was, because the walrus's eyes was literally you could hear the mechanicalness whenever he's blinking. I'm like, oh my goodness.
Did he blink?
Wheels. Yeah, he's like chink, chink, chink.
Oh, because when I saw his eyes, I was like, bro, do you ever blink? Because they looked like they were like fixed open all the time from the mechanical thingies, but I guess they did. I just missed it.
Yeah, and so it's almost as if it's forcing the eyes to get wider, but then every time he closes it, you can hear a mechanical noise. But other than that, for the rest of the movie, the rest of the 2.5 hours, it was comical. It was sad at times. It was full of action. Just everything, every kind of single element that a comic book superhero movie should have. And I think Guardians of the Galaxy did it. 9.5 out of 10.
All right. Well, with that, everybody, no, just kidding. Okay. Well, shoot. I just, yeah.
Leo's just gonna piggyback, guys. No, it's good.
I actually think I thought it was a good movie. I really did. But if I give it my rating, I feel like it was a B- in my opinion. Yeah.
Oh, you got.
Did you see how? Did you see how both of their heads stopped shaking after I said? They're like, what?
You got our attention, Leo.
Did you watch the same movie we watched?
You said a B-.
I know.
A B-, maybe a B. Maybe a B.
Not even a plus.
No, I don't think it was. I don't think it was a. Like I said, I felt like there were points in the movie I was like, man, is this movie ever going to end? Because it felt like it was coming to an end, and then it got into it. And like I said, the real thing that affects me, I do not like, and I've always hated unsettled endings. And I know technically it did settle, like Randolph said, they told what they're going to do and all this stuff, but it's just I want the gang back together again. And you don't get that. And even though I understand that you just couldn't get that because of different reasons, and the Guardians of the Galaxy isn't just these people, right? Multiple different characters have joined the Guardians of the Galaxy as time has gone.
Yeah.
It makes me sad. And the movie was really sad in a lot of places. It had its moments of comedy, which were great, but the movie in general was super sad. And I was like, man, this is depressing. Yeah. Right. And the ending just made it a little bit more depressing for me. I don't like those kind of endings. They make me always sad. That's why animes always piss me off, because they never end with a good ending. They just and that's it. Did they kiss? Did they not?
Did they kiss? Yeah. Did they get together?
So,
I guess that's
I would have given it an A-.
Yeah.
If Mantis if Mantis and Drax kissed at the end, I would have given it an A-. So they did love each other. Okay.
I was like, so there was a thing. There was no thing.
But yeah, so that's my rating.
You wanted that kind of closure, you know. So.
Yeah,
I see what you mean. I see what you mean.
That doesn't sound like the movie grade. That more sounds like the grade that, a personal grade.
Well, I mean, but that's what the movie gave me. That's the feeling it gave me, right? I'm grading it on how I felt about it.
Yeah,
I mean,
is Leo's personally giving a score?
Wait, you know. And I will say, like, from a visual point of view, from a storyline, if I had no emotion, definitely like an A+.
If you had no emotion.
If I had no emotion, if I was the high evolutionary, right? Because it was way better than Ant-Man. Like visually and storytelling wise, it was so much better than Ant-Man. I think Ant-Man fell short in comparison to Guardians of the Galaxy 3. Right?
I gave Ant-Man
in my opinion.
+2, so I mean,
but including my emotions, because I am human, I give it a B. I'll give it a B. Just so not everybody hates me.
No, don't change your answer because of me. I feel like it's
B minus, guys.
You got to keep the B minus.
Guys, if you're watching this on YouTube, leave your comment down below what you guys give this.
What is your personal preference?
As a grade? Your personal grading, you know.
Yeah. I know a lot of you are going to agree with me and give it a B minus.
You're crazy. You are crazy.
We'll see.
No, but,
That wraps up this episode. Don't forget to follow us on IG, Twitter, Facebook, TikTok, and Anchor FM. You can also listen to us on Mondays on Overcast, Pocket Cast, Radio Public, Google Podcasts, Apple Podcasts, Amazon Music, iHeartRadio, and Stitcher. Don't forget to subscribe to the YouTube channel to check out all of our videos. And please leave a comment. And do not forget to turn it to 11. Later, guys.